Hello. Back to our book, the learner's book. We're going to use Clever English Grade 7. Clever English Grade 7. We are opening on page 131. Today, I'm on page 131. And remember last time we did other things on the other pages, but they are linking to what we are going to do today. I want us today to study the simple and the compound sentences. Where do we get them in the book? We get them on page 131. Let us go to the study and check if we can't learn online. It's very important to know how to learn online. Let's get there. Right. My fellow grade 6 and grade 7 learners, I would like you to go along with me today as we'll be studying the three types of sentences. We have got the simple sentence, the compound sentence, and the complex sentence. According to our syllabus, this is what we need to know in grade 6 and grade 7 because we are writing some longer pieces of work. Now we need to understand the use of these three types of sentence structures. Now I'm going to explain two of them today. We shall take the other one in the next lesson. Today we are going to concentrate much on the simple sentence and the compound sentence. But before we may start, we need to understand there are certain things that we need to understand about the use of these types of sentences. Now, the first thing is, why is it important to vary sentence structures? We need to understand because when we're using the sentences when writing, we need to vary them. At some stage, one should use the longer sentences, and somewhere you have to use the short sentences in order to produce a very good piece of work. Now, why is it important that we use all these types of sentence structures when we are writing a piece of work? Now, here are the reasons. One, the short sentences that we normally call the simple sentences, they can make your work to sound choppy. Your work won't flow. When you're reading a piece of work which is written only in short sentences, it won't flow. The sentences are short and they are giving very short ideas. So at some stage you can't use them. You can't use only the short sentences or the simple sentences. You need to mix them with the compound and complex sentences. And these compound and complex sentences, once you use them only, you'll find that you are producing a very difficult piece of work. People may not understand you because you're using very long sentences. And therefore, at all stages, you need to vary these sentences. You need to mix them and differentiate them. At some stage, you use the short sentences, and somewhere you use the long sentences. So that the main aim is that at the end, they will help you to produce a very interesting and coherent piece of work. Now, what are some common ways to structure a sentence? There are certain common ways that we normally use to structure a sentence. Now, what are those common ways of structuring a sentence? Now, let us start by studying the simple sentence. I said today we're going to study only two sentences, the simple sentence and the compound sentence. Now, I want us to start by studying the simple sentence so that we can be able to structure it well, how to write it, how to ensure that we can produce good, simple sentences. Now, where does it start? It starts from here. The simple sentence, we need to understand what a simple sentence is. Before you can go on writing a simple sentence, you need to understand firstly what this type of a sentence look like and what is it. A simple sentence contains a subject and a verb. I remember last time in class, I explained to you these two concepts, a subject and a verb. A subject, the doer of the action in a sentence. A subject is a word in a sentence that tells us who does the action, who's doing the work in that particular sentence. What about a verb? A verb, as I said to you, is an action word. It's a word that tells us the work that is being done in a sentence. Now, a simple sentence contains both the subject and the verb. Secondly, it expresses a single complete thought. A single sentence must have a single complete thought. What do we mean? This is a bit complicated. A simple sentence is a short sentence which is telling us one thing. You're not having many things in a simple sentence. It only tells us one thing. And this sentence, a simple sentence, is an independent clause. Do you remember what I said in class? We're talking about the dependent and independent clauses. We have studied this. I think you know this. We worked on these. Now, but I must remind you. Let me remind you. I know someone is asking this question. What? I know nothing about this. Or somebody might say, I wasn't in class when this was taught. Now, let me just remind you about this independent clause that I'm talking about. An independent clause is a clause that can stand alone. What is a clause? It's a group of words. Now, this group of words, they can stand alone and give a meaning. It is a group of words that contain a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. Now, when we say this is an independent clause, we mean that it's just a group of words, and these words, they can express a complete thought. They do not need other words to come and assist them to give a complete clause. Now, that is an independent clause. An independent clause, again, is a sentence. An independent clause is a sentence on its own. That is the independent clause. But remember, I'm not on independent clause. I'm just reminding you what we did on this independent clauses. Let us go back to our simple sentence. Our matter here is on the simple sentence. Now, let us go back. Let me give you an example of a simple sentence so that we can work on it and we can check if really it goes along with what we have already said. Here follows an example of a simple sentence. The cell phone rang right before class. The cell phone rang right before class. Now, there are two questions that you need to ask yourself here so that you can understand. One, what is the subject in the sentence? What is the subject? Come up again. What is the subject? Oh, yeah, I think you're right. The subject here is the cell phone. Is the one which is doing the work in this sentence, is the one which rang. So is the subject, is the doer of the action in this sentence. Secondly, is this sentence having the verb? Remember, it's a simple sentence. It must have a subject, it must have a verb. Is it having a verb? Then, what is the verb? What is the verb in this sentence? Good. Rang is the verb. This is the work that is done by the cell phone. Therefore, rang is the work. That is a simple sentence. Let us look at this simple sentence. The cell phone rang right before class. It says this cell phone just rang before we start with the class. It just rang right before we start with the class. So it gives us one complete thought. It tells us what happened, what the cell phone did. Is just one thing. It is not the, if we add other things, we say it rang and it fell from the table, then it's another thought. But here we have got only one thought, which says the cell phone rang right before class. It's one complete thought. And a sentence like this one is called a simple sentence. Now let us get to another type of a sentence, a compound sentence. I want us to be able to differentiate between the two so that we can be able to know what is a simple sentence and what is a compound sentence. A compound sentence, it is a sentence that joins two independent clauses together with a coordinating conjunction or semicolon. Now look, a compound sentence is having two independent clauses. A simple sentence is having one independent clause, but a compound sentence is having two independent clauses. Now, these independent clauses, because there's an independent clause 1, there's an independent clause 2, they are joined together. Now, how are they joined together? They are joined together with a coordinating conjunction. That's a conjunction. You remember we studied conjunctions in class. A conjunction is a joining word. It's a word that we use to join other words. I'm going to give you examples as we go on. Now, a compound sentence is using a coordinating conjunction. A coordinating conjunction is used to join two independent clauses to formulate a compound sentence. If we are not using two independent conjunctions, we are going to use the semicolon. Now, here is a formula that we can use, that we can always remember when we speak of the compound sentences. The formula is clear. A compound sentence is having independent clause number 1 and independent clause number 2. Now, these independent clauses are joined together to formulate one sentence. Now, these independent clauses, how are they combined? Now, let us see how we combine these two independent clauses. There are two ways to combine the independent clauses to make a compound sentence. As I've indicated, there are two ways. The first way is you can combine them by using a comma and a coordinating conjunction. As I've already said, you use a comma and a coordinating conjunction, or you may use a semicolon. A comma or a coordinating conjunction. I said I know already you forgot the coordinating conjunctions. You forgot the conjunctions. Let us go back a bit. Remember, we don't lose focus. We are talking about the compound sentence. But now we go back a little bit to check the coordinating conjunctions. I want to check if you still remember the coordinating conjunctions. A coordinating conjunction is also known as a fanboys. Remember the fanboys. Fanboys. This is a simple acronym that we may use so that we may not forget the coordinating conjunctions. The fanboys. Each letter of alphabet has a meaning. It gives us one conjunction. Let us check. We have got the following. 1, for, and, no, but, or, yet, So, fanboys, the fanboys. Those are the coordinating conjunctions. Definitely this you must just know. This you have to know in this grade because we are using them almost every day. So we said we can use a comma and one of these conjunctions to join the two or to combine the two independent clauses so that they may formulate what we call a compound sentence. I think we need to get some examples now. I think now we need to get some examples how to use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. A coordinating conjunction. Remember, the fanboys is just the acronym for the coordinating conjunctions that we're having. We're going to use a comma and a coordinating conjunction to join two independent clauses so that they may give us a compound sentence. Let's check that. 1. The cell phone rang right before class. That is the first sentence. Can you see a comma is put there? There is comma. Then we use so. Then so is a coordinating conjunction. The cell phone rang right before class, so the student quickly turned off the phone's ringer. The first conjunction is not the conjunction. The first independent clause is the cell phone rang right before the class. Then what happened after that? We get a new thought. The student quickly turned off the phone's ringer. There is another thing that happened. Now, two things happened. The phone rang, the student turned off the phone. Now, two things happened. Now, we put these things together by using a comma and a coordinating conjunction so, then we get a sentence which is called a compound sentence. What do we mean by a compound sentence? We mean this sentence is having two independent clauses combined together. Clear? Let's get to another one. Let's see if we may get another example. The teens walked to the park, but it was closed. The teens walked to the park. That's the first thing that they've done. They walked to the park. Then we get a comma. Then we put a coordinating conjunction, but. Then we get another independent clause, which says it was closed. The first independent clause is the teens walked to the park. The second, it was closed. Then we've got these two brought together. Then this sentence is called a compound sentence. The gentleman did not know where the sound came from, so he hid behind the tree. You see, the gentleman did not know where the sound came from. Then we put a comma, then we join with so. Then we say, he hid behind the tree. Now we combined the two clauses. That is exactly what I wanted you to know about combining the two clauses. There are two ways, as I've said. You combine by using a comma and a coordinating conjunction is what we were talking about. Now, you may also combine them by using a semicolon. Let's see how we do it. A semicolon, you remember punctuation? We've got a colon, a semicolon, question mark, we've got full stop, we've got exclamation mark, we've got so many signs that we're using in punctuation. Now, a semicolon is one of the punctuation marks. We may also use them to formulate a compound sentence. How is it used? Look at that. You can also use a semicolon to create a compound sentence since the two statements are equal. The teacher applauded the class. That is what the teacher did. The teacher applauded the class. Then what happened? The kids beamed with pride. The teacher applauded the class. The kids beamed with pride. Two things happened. Firstly, the teacher applauded the class. Secondly, as a response, the kids beamed with pride. Now, the two clauses. The first clause, independent clause, is the teacher applauded the class. It's clear. It doesn't need any explanation. It's an independent clause. The second, the kids beamed with pride. It's another independent clause. But now we brought them together. In this case, we did not use a coordinating conjunction. Instead, we used this sign, which is called a semicolon. We used a semicolon. Right. You can also use a semicolon to create a compound sentence since the two statements are equal. That is exactly what I told you. The teacher applauded the class. The kids beamed with pride. The dog ate. The cat slept. There are two things. The dog ate. The cat slept. There are two things there. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. Yes, I've been doing this. Now it's your turn. Let's check. Warm up. Directions. I give you the directions. Number 1 to 3 on a separate sheet of paper. Write down if the example is simple or compound. I want to know if the following example is a simple or it's a compound sentence. If you find that this is a compound sentence, you have to tell me why. Why do you say this sentence is a compound sentence? Let's get the first sentence. Here is it. The rain fell for us and rained the picnic. The rain fell for us and rained the picnic. What do you think about this? Is this a compound sentence or a simple sentence? You scratch your head, yes. Then if you find that it's a compound sentence, you have to give me the reason. Yes, I left, but Mercy stayed. I left, but Mercy stayed. Is it a simple or a compound sentence? Remember what I told you? Polar bears feed on seals. Seals feed on fish. Polar bears feed on seals. Seals feed on fish. Is that a simple sentence or a compound sentence? Yeah. You're waking now. Go on. Female penguins usually stay at sea, but they return when their eggs hatch. Roses, carnations, and violets were growing in the garden. The sun rose, the air did not feel warm. You need to know which of these sentences is a compound sentence and which one is a simple sentence. Yes, we're waking now. We're waking. We're waking. Now, create a compound sentence by joining the two independent clauses using a coordinating conjunction or a semicolon. You are going to be given two independent clauses. Then you have to join them together using a coordinating conjunction or a semicolon so that they may create a compound sentence. That's the first one. I'm driving to the office in an hour. I'll pick up the supplies on the way. Join the two. Dorothy likes whitewater rafting. She also enjoys kayaking. Dorothy likes whitewater rafting. She also enjoys kayaking. Remember the fanboys. The fanboys. Coordinating conjunctions. fanboys. I planned to go to the hockey game. I couldn't get the tickets. I planned to go to the hockey game. I couldn't get the tickets. Yes. Look, this brings us to the end of our first session, the first lesson about the compound and simple sentences. Work on that, and from the examples that I've given you, go through the book and see if you cannot maneuver some way out. I thank you very much. Thank you.